everyone, it's Vesper Sour here with another video. And I'm going to try and keep this short because I have a lot to go through. But it's that time of year again. Well, the new year. I have my books I read in 2024 video here. And there's a lot going on, but I also have like a 2024 recap video. But I'm going to be trying to film quite a few videos because my brother and his girlfriend are having a baby today and they're still living here with us, so I'm probably not going to be able to record any videos just because their room is right next to mine and these walls are paper thin. So anyway, this year I'm going to do this video a little bit different because according to my Storygraph account, which I will link in the description if y'all want to follow me, and I can follow you back, I've read 51 books this year. I'm so happy. I was very determined at the beginning of the year to get through my to read pile because I put myself on a book buying ban and I didn't buy anything. I did buy a few books here and there, but it was really just stuff, special occasions and stuff, like when some of my writing buddies came out with books that I really wanted or something like that. So yes, but since I read so many books, I don't have them physically here with me because they're scattered all around the house, and I didn't want to have to like just have a pile of 51 books here and having to put those away afterwards. So even though I do like having the physical books here, I'm just gonna put a picture on the cover like right here, and I didn't type out any of the author names, so you'll be able to see it here. But again, I'm gonna try and keep this very brief. So in January, this is kind of when I was starting to get in that mindset of I need to read these books. The first book I read in 2024 is Consorting with Spirits. I really like this book. Essentially, it's a spiritual book about how to communicate with spirits. It's very self-explanatory. But the thing I really like about this book the most is, unlike a lot of modern pagan and witchcraft books, it doesn't shy away from talking about demons. I mean, right on the cover, that's President Malphos, a demon, and his sigil. So that is what I really like about it. So it doesn't shy away from the fact that people work with demons, and they are commonly the ones you think of when you're consorting with spirits. Following that is the book They Both Die at the End. You know, I was uncertain about this book initially, but oh my gosh, I read it in like 2 days, which at the time was very unusual for me. It just stuck with me, and I highly recommend it. It has a prequel, I believe. I have not yet read, but I definitely recommend this one. It's so sad, and it really makes you think about what you would do if you lived in this universe. Following that, I reread Watership Down for the first time since high school. This is one of my favorite books. I have a tattoo on my leg, and I definitely will probably do want to make a separate video just talking about Watership Down because it's so beloved by me. The final book of January is Pandemonium, which is just a catalog of the Goetia demons. I wanted a bit more from this book, but it's got me thinking of like how I would write something similar, so that might be something nice I do in the future. Wink wonk. And then in February, this is unfortunately when my health issue started up, so I read the Watership Down graphic novel. It left much to be desired, unfortunately, and I wish they kind of went more or different with all the designs because a lot of the rabbits just look the same. I get it's the realism aspect, but I wanted a bit more. I actually started this one second, but because of my health issues, I just wanted to have something nice and fun to read, so I did put the other aside for a bit and start reading this one. The second is The Deep Dark River. This was one I wasn't sure at first, but I finished it. I liked it. There's a sequel. I'll probably pick it up eventually, but it's not something that I really feel the need to pick up and read immediately. And then I read the Acid Reflux Diet and Cookbook for Dummies, which my mom got me because a lot of my issues had to do with acid reflux. And yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but it was very helpful at the time. Then I read Self-Publishing for the First Time Author because, you know, I knew I was going to publish my book later in 2024, and I was successful in doing that. So I read this as helpful. I do recommend this author's author writing guides. They're very quick and to the point, and I like that. And in March, I read When I Make Love to the Bugman. Hold up. With this author, I believe her name is Lauren or Laura. The only reason I even initially got these books is because I was at a local horror convention type thing, very small, and I got to talking with her, and she was really nice, and I was like, well, I like to support fellow authors, and so I was like, I looked to see which ones of her books sounded the most interesting, and this one is like a short story collection, which I figured it would be interesting, and it was. There was some I really liked, some I didn't, but that's about how that always works. Then I read Alice Isn't Dead. Again, I only have this book is because my local Barnes & Noble had a signed copy, and you know, I love Welcome to Night Vale and stuff, so I picked this one up because I like this creator's works. And then by the same author as before, I read Calling Mr. Lonely Hearts. This one was about a group of friends that did some sketchy stuff in high school, and they're kind of facing the repercussions of that. And there is a mysterious man who may or may not be the devil. It was still very unclear. I think he was. This one is one of those take it or leave it ones. I read it, but I didn't like any of the characters. But the plot is interesting enough, but I wish we had gotten a bit more of the mysterious man and all that. And then the final book of April is Auras. It was just a book my brother and his girlfriend got me for my birthday. So it's just simple about auras and how you can see them and how you can practice to see them. I like it. It's useful. Okay. And in April, I read King of Hell, which is the first Morgan Dante book I've actually ever read, which is wild thinking because I have most of their books on this list now. And I did a review of this, so I won't get too much into it. Then I read The Devil, Demons, and Fallen Angels, which is an informational kind of book about, well, those topics. And this is another take it or leave it. I actually bought this before I got into demonology, and I've had this for a few years, and I've kept putting it off because, you know, it was very touch and go with my spirituality for a little bit, but I felt confident enough to read it, and I'm glad I waited because, you know, not everything in this I would say is accurate. So there is that. If you want the more realism side of origins, how we get these certain things, you know, where these sources come from, it's very good, but I would not necessarily recommend it because I did notice a few incorrect things. So there is that. It's one of those books where you have to take with a grain of salt. Then at the end of kind of middle of April into the beginning of May, I read Angels and Man. I made a video about it. I love these books, and I'm excited for anything else that Raphael has to show us in the future. Then I read Book Marketing for the First Time Author by that same author as the self-publishing one. Again, recommend it. I liked it. Then I read Mercy by Ian Haramaki. I absolutely loved this book. This kind of got me back into the groove of I'm looking forward to reading a book, and I'm very excited about it to see where the story goes, and I cannot wait for the sequel. I think I also made a video about this, so. And then I read the Book of Enoch, which is a biblical text about the flood from Genesis, and it's where the Watcher angels originate. I won't get too much about it in here because I do want to have a larger Watcher related video. Then in June I read A Flame in the Night by Morgan Dante. This one was a very quick read. I didn't have too many thoughts of it. I did like the second one a lot more, which I also read this month, and that is Witch Soul. Then I read Fallen Angels, the Watchers, Witches, and Witches Sabbath. My friend got this for me for my birthday because I'm very into the Watchers, and this year was definitely about me researching them, and so this is a lot more technical stuff, so I wouldn't recommend it for just the beginner or what have you. And then I started my journey in starting the Wings of Fire books with the Dragonette Prophecy, and I loved these books so much. My mom got me the box set for Christmas the year before, so a lot of the books I read were these, and oh, I loved them. It's about a world where kind of dragons are the rulers. Then in July I read Providence Girls by Morgan Dante. This one I think about every once in a while. It's so good. It's very interesting and written differently, kind of like in journal entries and stuff like that. You know, it's kind of a romance of a eldritch horror variety. Very interesting. Then I read Prince of Lust, which is a very short novella about a priest that summons Asmodeus, and maybe some things happen. I want to get all the books in the series. It's so good. I had so much fun reading it. Then Wings of Fire, Lost Air. I really like this one. I didn't really talk much about the first one, but first one, it was alright. I wasn't quite sure what I was in for, but by the second one, I was enjoying it a lot more. And I also read Hidden Kingdom because by then I was kind of really eating up these books. Then I read Rock Gut, which this author is actually going to be in the Irreverent anthology with me. Yes, this is a very interesting one. I do recommend it if you kind of like eerie horror vibes type thing. And then Intro to Herbalism. I just have this because it was Stuff Your Kindle Day and it was free. I don't even remember a lot of stuff it said. Now in August, I was going through another health funk, unfortunately, and I read First Creation by Mars Adler, which is a short novella about angel and fallen angel and a war between heaven and hell. I really like it. I hope Mars makes more in this universe, but I'm not sure if they are. And then one of my favorite reads this year, I read The Saint of Heartbreak, which I did a review of it because I got an ARC copy. But even though I got a free ARC copy, I absolutely bought a physical copy that Morgan Dante signed and put down a quote from Paradise Lost that I asked them to, and it's so good. I highly recommend it, but this book got me through a lot of my just anxiety and stuff around my health. In September, I read Lilith. I'm going to make a longer video about this, so I won't get into it here. Then I read Wings of Fire, Dark Secret, and Brightest Night to finish off the series. And I love this series. It's so fun. It's just different. You know, I was a Warrior Cats kid, and these books kind of blowing on the water. Warriors was getting stagnant for me. And then I read The Prince of Sorrows, which I love this book so much. It was fun. Like, you know, it's not like amazing, super perfect, but it was fun and I liked it, and I wanted to see the characters succeed, and the ending upset me, but it's a series, so I will definitely be picking up the next books. Then in October, I read Galatia Hymns by Reverend Kane. These are basically, this is just a book of prayers for the Galactic demons. It was a very quick read and I really enjoyed it. Then I read A Place for Vanishing. This was a book that a friend's mother gave me, and at first I was unsure, but she knows her stuff, and it was a book I really enjoyed. It's about a girl and her family moving into her mother's childhood home where her mother's parents, so her grandparents, vanished in, as you can tell by the title. And there's all these like stained glass windows with themed after bugs, and they have masks on them, and they put on the masks and stuff happens. Very good, very interesting concept. Then ironically, I read Masks by Amara Lynn. I've had this ebook for ages and I just never read it. This is in November, by the way. I was going through a reading funk after reading all those other books, and a lot are about angels and demons, and so I just wanted a little bit different. This is about kind of like superheroes, but I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. But yes, it was a very quick read too, which I liked. Then Deal with Divinity. I got this at a local convention to support a local author. And, you know, at first I was uncertain, but by the time, like, more characters were showing up, I was getting super into it, and I honestly couldn't put it down. Then I read Volume 1 of Castle Swimmer. This is my favorite webcomic. I think I mentioned it in my Webtoons video from, like, way long time ago, so a lot of those aren't accurate anymore, but this still is my top favorite webcomic, and I'm so glad to have it in a physical form now. Then I read Anna Dressed in Blood. This is another book my friend's mom gave me, and I didn't think I would like it, and I actually really loved it. It's about a teenage boy that comes from a long line of ghost slayers, and him and his mom move to a town in search of this ghost called Anna Dressed in Blood, who has a lot of people, but then he kind of becomes infatuated with her. It's very good. I loved it. And finally, in December of 2024, I read Lackadaisy Volume 1 and 2 of physical editions of the webcomic. I got these when I backed the animated series because I really liked it. Then I read Girl of Nightmares, which is the sequel to Anna in Blood. This one, unfortunately, was a bit more disappointing than Anna Dressed in Blood because it lacked a lot of the things that I really liked in the first book, mainly being the relationship between Anna and Cass, the main guy. Then I read A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon, which is probably the biggest evidence that you shouldn't let other people's opinions of books ruin them for you, because I'd gotten this book in the beginning of the year, and I kind of left it off for a little bit. It was one of those ones where I was waiting to finish reading a bunch of other books, and I had seen reviews where people said they didn't like this one. It was too quirky and stuff, and so I was like, oh well, that's unfortunate. But then I read it. First chapter, wasn't too sure about it, but by the second I was getting into it, and I really liked the characters, and I thought it was a fun read. It's not like super serious or world changing, but I thought it was really fun, and I'm excited to read the second book, which I also bought, but I haven't read yet. So there is that. And then finally I read the Neopets cookbook, which I got for Christmas. This was a very quick read as well, and I am excited to attempt some of these recipes. But anyway, yes, that is all that I've read. It was a lot. And yeah, and I've already read the first book of this year, so I'm sure this year will be filled with a lot of books as well, and there's a lot that I'm wanting to buy. And I eventually took a break from reading books on my Kindle because I wanted to get through all the ones I have on paperback, but because of Stuff Your Kindle events, I do have a lot there too. So even though I'm almost done with my to-read pile, well, I was until Christmas came around. But, Anyway, thank y'all so much for watching. I know this one's probably going to be a bit longer than usual, but I appreciate y'all so much. Well, happy reading, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye!